Okay, we're going to go over construction in Burton Valley. As most of you, anyone that lives over there down at the Oasis Casino, as I reported last month, we had de-energized 3 buildings. Those buildings are now gone. And we have removed over 5,000 kVA of transformers from that site. That was a total of 8 transformers and 3 switches. We're in the process now of rehabbing that equipment, going through it, cleaning it up, repainting it, so we can reuse that at other locations. We were also up on the Mesa. We have out on the microwave tap line, we have a Mormon Mesa tap and an Arrow Canyon tap over here, and we have basically a maintenance agreement with them. They pay extra money to us if we go out and change poles on those lines. And we do about 15 poles per year on that. And the crew went out this last month, did those 15 poles. We're still about 35 poles away from completing that project, but we've been doing that for the last 5 years. And are getting to the point where we'll complete that. In the Moapa Valley, we're working up in Moapa, replacing some direct buried underground cable that was located. We've also changed 14 streetlight poles and lights for Clark County here in the Overton, Logandale, and Bunkerville area. They come around, we test those poles, and they, for their liability, they want sound poles in the ground. So this is the second one of these. We've changed about 30 total for Clark County in these areas. We've also been doing a lot of palm tree trimming and removal. They were working out here in Stringtown and cut down 4 palm trees, and there was actually a raccoon's nest up in that. They put them down on the ground, and the next day they were gone. So.
They're not endangered, are they?
They're not. They're not. And talking about endangered, I got a call from Agent Michael Clark of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. He was investigating an owl death that took place on 918 Levitt Lane over in Mesquite. An owl was at the base of a pole. An individual wanted to have it mounted, but you have to go through U.S. Fish and Wildlife to get a permit to have that done. And he wanted to know about our avian protection plan and what we have in place. And I was very honest with him, told him, we really didn't have an avian protection plan. And the protection plan is all voluntary. You can do as little or as much as you want. If it's found that you're killing a lot of migratory and raptor type birds, you can be cited and be forced into a very expensive plan. And so since I was in contact with him on May 23rd, I've found a lot about avian protection. This is basically the manual for avian protection plans. And it's really, we're going to be bringing back to the board basically an avian protection policy that basically just says that our company's commitment to protecting endangered species of birds and raptors. There's some type of birds they're sparrows, pigeons, things of that nature that are really not protected. But it's a win-win for both the environment as well as us, because every time we have a bird kill on a line, we get a blip. We see an outage, a fuse can be blown, or we see a drawdown, you'll see your lights go dim and then come back up. So anytime we can stop one of those, it's a nuisance that we are able to get rid of. And so you'll be, in that policy, it'll talk about training, permits, if we have to move a nest that has eggs or juvenile birds, we have to get a permit to do that. We may have to change some construction designs. If we do have a death, we're now on the avian reporting network. It's basically an online reporting that we report the location, the type of animal, and then what we're doing to minimize those in the future. Now at that 918 Levitt Lane, we've contacted, they're called the Cadis Company, they're out of Salt Lake, and they do avian protection. They have protectors. I've got some examples in my office. And they just clip over the line and protect the birds from coming in contact. Now, they'll help us with that design in that area. We may have to do 6 or 7 poles down Levitt Lane. And then we said before and after pictures to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. And we may have to find an area in Warm Springs where we're having deaths, and we do protection in that area. And so it's a case-by-case area. So we'll be reporting back on what we find and what we're doing in that area.
How often does it happen?
You know, for a protected bird, you know, we're estimating, you know, 12 to 15 times a year maybe. You know, we may or may not find those animals. You know, they may be gone by the time we'll go out and we get an outage. Say like we had an outage last week in Mesquite on a Friday. It wasn't last Friday, but the Friday before. We couldn't find the cause of that outage. You know, we patrolled the line and we could not find the cause. It's usually an animal or a limb on a line or something, but we could not find the cause. Now in that situation, if there would have been a bird, we would have found it because we were there just like that. But many times we don't find that animal that's there. But we're not talking about a lot of exposure because we just don't have the type of raptors. And really what prompts is eagle death. That's kind of the king. If you're killing eagles, the Fish and Wildlife will be there to let you know. And kind of the test case on this was Moon Lake Electric. They're up out of Roosevelt, Utah. Back in the 80s, they were killing a lot of eagles. Fish and Wildlife went to them and said, hey, you know, what can we do? And they said, we don't care about them. Well, they went to court and said, you will protect the eagles. And they literally spent millions of dollars in protection. They're kind of you don't want to be like them. They're kind of a test case.
Is there any federal money then to assist in projects?
There's not. There's not. We have to pay for those costs of protection.
We're fortunate we don't have a lot of eagle-type raptors.
Yeah, we just don't have those type of raptors. We have owls and red-tailed hawks and those type, which are not, on the federal level, they're not really high on the list. But they are a raptor, and so they are subject.
Do we have to do it in a special manner? Or?
If we're disposable, if we find them, we can bury them on site, or we can remove them for disposal. The only ones we're asked to keep is an eagle. If we find an eagle, then we're asked to pick it up and freeze it, and then it'll be picked up by U.S. Fish and Wildlife. Now, technically to do that, you have to have a permit. But say we find one, we can pick it up, freeze it, and we report it, and we basically, as long as we're transporting for them to pick up, we don't have to have a permit. But as general public, you cannot pick one up without having a permit. You're under federal protection, even the carcass. So we will be working on that and get back with the board on that policy and kind of just keep you updated on what we're doing on that. As far as our safety topic for the month, our topic was improving our safety culture. And we have our lost time, we're still continuing with that, 5 years, 8 months, and 6 days, or a total of 2,071 days without a lost time accident. Any other questions?
What I missed last month, did we talk about our pole
Testing.
How's that going, and did we purchase that and our testing poles?
We have, we did discuss that, and I actually brought a poll report in that shows the report. I have that in my office, I'll certainly give that to you, but as I pass that around, it showed the void in the pole, the red section on that report, and we are out testing. I can tell you next month how many total poles we've tested, and but we are out testing poles, and before we change poles now, that's just part of the criteria, is we test them to see if they've got a void in them. And we are finding poles.
Doug, we don't hit them with a hammer anymore.
How come?